Shalom.
Shalom.
All right, welcome back. If you haven't seen our video before this about the feast, please watch it. Okay, we just did it. You know, it's part of. We split it up because we wanted people to watch something about the feast. Unfortunately, in this YouTube world, Millennial Kingdom and Flat Earth and Nephilim are way more unpopular than.
You say unpopular? Or way more? Wait, would you say way more popular?
I think I said that wrong.
Yeah.
Way more. They're more popular.
Yeah. Okay.
They're more popular than actually the whole duty of man. And the whole duty of man is to fear Elohim and keep his commandments, the Torah. That's the problem. The Torah is probably the most unpopular subject. You know, if you look at any of our views, we got a lot of views for our channel. And we're not about views, but I'm just telling you, if you look at the views, we have more views from Millennial Kingdom than we do for anything about the Torah. So please push pause, go back and watch our video we just posted about the feast, because you got to start doing the feast. You got to. It is Millennial Kingdom. Millennial Kingdom is all about the feast. It's the Sabbath rest for the world. So Millennial Kingdom matters nothing if you're not keeping the feast. It doesn't matter. The appointed times are the appointed times of Yah. Right. And Millennial Kingdom was an appointed time. Okay, so saying that, we're going to get in the Millennial Kingdom.
Yeah. Let's do it.
This is a math video.
Timeline video.
Well, it's timeline, but we're
It's
going
to be a lot of math.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of math. And
So I'm just going to sit this one out. I'll see you later.
yeah. But math, I mean, this is really awesome, because when we try to figure this out, like, you have so many people trying to figure out, okay, we know we're in the little season. How long is the little season?
Yes, big question.
And yeah, that's a big thing, because where do we find this in scripture? And I know a lot of people, we can, you know, kind of figure some things out, like maybe Jacob's trouble or you know,
Using the United States as sort of
people say 1776 is like a Freemasonic ceremony. And that could be something as well. So people say 250 years, people say 500 years is a season, and then, you know, a little season shorter than that. I don't know. Okay, but there's
a very little about the short season in scripture. I mean, like what we know about it.
Yeah,
right?
There's very little, and that's the thing, is like we are so, you talk about little season in videos. There's so many videos right now about little season. It's gaining a lot of popularity about being in the short season. And there's only like one verse. We have one mention of it in Revelation, possibly one in Isaiah. And if anyone else knows little season verses, send a comment or something, because I would love to know more. We've been searching for them.
Yeah.
But we did find one, and that's what we're going to talk about. We did find this in Baruch. And we actually talked about this in our Baruch video. If you'll go back, we did a Baruch video. Baruch's prophecy. If you can go back and watch that, we deal with a prophecy in Baruch that mimics all the prophecies throughout the prophets. That there is no 2,000-year gap. Yeah. It's literally after the advent of Messiah, we have the rule of Messiah, the kingdom. So there is no prophetic 2,000-year gap. That's what I'm looking for, to be able to prove that the Millennial Kingdom hasn't happened. If it hasn't happened, we should have prophecies of a long period, 2,000 years. And by the way, it could be 5,000 more years. If it was prophesied there's 10,000 years between Yeshua and the kingdom, then so be it. There's 10,000 years. But right now we're at 2,000 years. There should be at least some prophetic something telling us we're going to have to wait, you know, thousands of years before the kingdom. Yeah. There's nothing, or at least not that I've found yet. And so that was my big search when looking for this. And we went through Baruch, and we did a video talking about the prophecy of Baruch, showing that there's no gap. It's literally right after Yeshua's advent. And so we mentioned in that video that we found evidence of a short season. You had someone message you.
I did.
I was like, hey, we need that video. And that was like months ago, probably a year ago.
I
think it was last year.
I feel like the days are turning very quickly right now. So.
Which is also in Baruch, that the days will speed up in the end. Okay, so that's why your life is slipping away right now. That's why ours is. Since 2020, it feels like we aged like so much. In 2020, it's like, where did the time go?
True.
In the last 4 years, I have no idea where they went. The next 4 years are gonna go by even faster. But anyways, yeah, you had someone reach out to you and say, hey, we need that video of the short season.
Yeah.
So I actually forgot all about it and didn't even know where I had written it down. So we had to go back through it and kind of look it up.
Yeah.
But okay, so we're gonna try to do 2 videos right here, but we'll split it up for you. So what I was saying, we're gonna do first is the mathematic Equation. Yeah,
Sure.
it's kind of an equation. We're going to do some math on the screen, and it's what is mentioned in Fourth Ezra, Second Ezra 13, and also we're going to talk about what we had just talked about in the short season in Baruch.
Okay.
So when we do that, we're going to split it up so you can watch it in two different times because I think these two things are such good proofs, and I've said this before on talking about Millennial Kingdom. It's cool looking at all the old pictures of buildings and all these things and possible mud floods or whatever. I think that's neat, okay? But that shouldn't sell you on Millennial Kingdom. What should sell you is what we find in Scripture. Mm-hmm. And that's when I first heard about it, I got excited about the buildings, and then I said, whoa, wait a minute. It can't be true unless we can prove it through Scripture, unless we can go back through the prophets. Yahweh does nothing without revealing it to his prophets first. So it has to be within the prophets. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason they took Second Baruch and First Baruch out of your Bible. There's a reason they took Second Esdras and First Esdras out of your Bible.
And
Enoch.
Was Enoch?
Enoch was an Ethiopian.
Yeah.
Enoch, Jubilees. Mm-hmm. There's a reason all those are missing. Especially Maccabees.
Oh.
I think Maccabees is incredible because it fulfills a lot of things David talked about. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know what Maccabee says, then I'm sorry, I said David, I meant Daniel. If you don't know what Maccabee says, then how are you supposed to know what's in Daniel? Daniel tells you everything that's happened in the Maccabean Wars. Mm-hmm. Maccabees confirms it. Mm-hmm. And so we need to do a whole thing about Daniel because Daniel 11 through 12, there's no 2,000 year gap. It's literally the Maccabean War. Michael stands up, resurrection, done.
Yeah.
It's just unless there's some missing verses out of Daniel, which could possibly be.
Sure.
But we're going to talk about Second Esdras 13. Okay. We're not going to read through the whole thing. I just want to point out a few verses.
Right. And let me just say this real quick about those books, because I had someone also ask me how do you find these books? Where are these books at? So Jim's reading through with the Sefer, which they're in the Sefer. It's a very expensive book. So I would suggest buying it unless you can afford it. But if you do have a phone,
we can't afford it.
No, we bought it a long time ago when we could. But anyways, but let me just say this: if you have the Bible app, you can go to a version called King James Version with Apocrypha American Edition. Okay, hold on one second. And that contains the Apocrypha or the apocryphal text, and that's I think that was 13 books or something like that were removed from the 1611 King James Version. They were part of the Geneva Bible, which I think Geneva, it predates. It was like a 1560 Bible or something like that. But you can go online and you can find these books online. But this one specifically, this version and on the Bible app is a good reliable source. So if you're looking for free, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. That's awesome.
Okay.
And by the way, there's way more than 13. The more you venture out, there's hundreds of books that we can at least glean some information from.
But those are a good start, I think.
Oh, that's a great start.
Yeah.
But we're going to read from one of those today.
All right.
All right. So Second Esdras 13. Let's just get a backstory. When was Ezra around? And if we read in Second Esdras 3:1, it says, "In the 13th year after the ruin of the city, I was in Babel and lay troubled upon my bed." Okay, so he gives you a timeline right here. Mm-hmm. He's in the, let's say 13th, I meant 30th year. He's in the 30th year after the destruction of the temple. This is when Babylon destroyed the temple. Same time frame as Daniel, same time frame as Jeremiah, a lot of those. But we can roughly say it's in the 500s BC, 500, I put 556 BC. Somewhere around there. Okay, so we know the time frame in which which Ezra is writing this. Okay, so I was reading Second Esdras 13, and I had my version right here in the Sefer, and then I had an online version I was looking at, and I get to the last verse, and it's just incredible to me because there's an extra verse in Second Esdras 13. Okay, so the prophecy we're going to deal with is in Second Esdras 14.
Okay.
And this has always confused me. I have read this multiple times. It never made sense. I always tried to do the math on it. It just confused me. It divides the time of the world into 12 parts.
Okay.
And it just I don't know. A lot of things were messed up for me.
Okay.
And I didn't realize why until I was reading two different versions. So I started reading in my Sefer.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I started reading in my Sefer chapter 14. And then I was reading a version online, which was it was supposed to be an older version. And then later on I found out there's like two other versions of this book, and that most of the things are the exact same except for some variations in 2nd Ezra 7, which is really interesting. If you haven't read the extended version of Ezra 7, we have the older Sefer, and in the Sefer it's not even in there, which is incredible. It deals with what happens when you die, going to Sheol.
But that's just like our modern translations of our Bible. I mean, there's so many differences. Across the hundreds of translations and versions.
Things added. It's the lying pins of the scribes. But when I got to chapter 14, I thought it was incredible because chapter 14 in all the versions is different in 2 verses. They change it back and forth, and some version doesn't even include verse 9, 10, and 11, which is what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
But I got all the way to the end, and this is just incredible. So we already gave you kind of a timeline when 2nd Ezra was written. This is roughly 500 years before Mashiach.
Okay.
Okay. This is the same time Daniel's saying 490 years are for your people to complete all sin of Israel. He's talking about 500 years from now, the Messiah's coming. Okay. And this is throughout so many prophecies. The 5.5 day prophecy. This is in the book of Adam and Eve. It's also in the Testament of Adam. It's in Gospel of Nicodemus. It's everywhere. It also fits the timeline of the LXX, which is the Septuagint. Okay. That's a lot to say there, but if you read Gospel Kaledi, it really kind of gives you this idea that is within the Gospels, but the Gospel of Kaledi really gives you a firm idea that during the time of Mashiach, there were tons of messiahs. Like they were waiting. They knew Messiah was coming. And in Mark, I think it's in Mark when they come up to John the Baptist and they say, "Hey, are you the prophet?" And he's like, "No." "Are you Ezekiel or Elijah?" And he says, "No." He said, "Are you Messiah?" So they had like 3 people they were waiting on.
Yeah.
They were waiting on these 3, the prophet, Ezekiel, and Messiah. They were waiting on Elijah. Yeah.
It's okay.
And you're going to fix my words today.
It's okay. I got
but
you.
anyways, but I just think it's amazing. Like during this time, like there were so many messiahs. Barabbas was another messiah figure. I mean, there's so many messiahs walking around. And so because they were expecting it, it was prophesied that the 5.5 days, 5,500th day from Adam, that there was going to be a Messiah, a son of Elohim, come down and save the people. And so they knew this. Everyone knew this. Everyone was well aware of this, of the timeline. Okay, so we're 500 years removed from Messiah. That means he is in the year 500 century. I said 556, I think, BC. Which means Ezra is writing this the year 5000. Okay. So 500 years removed from Messiah. But I got to this verse in 48, and you want to read it? Isaiah, it's
you want? Oh, okay. You mean to read it in here?
Yeah, because so in the Sefer, there's no verse here. Verse 48 is 2nd Ezra 14:48. There's no verse. They leave it out. Another version has like just a small part of 47. It says, "And I did so." That's it. And so, but this other version is amazing, and there's a little clue here.
Okay, and I did so in the 7th year, in the 6th week, after 5,000 years of the creation, and 3 months and 12 days.
Yeah, so he's telling you right here, he's at 5,000 years from the creation. Now, we already knew that, okay? So it's just confirmation. We have 2 places Ezra's saying, I'm writing 5,000 years from the creation of the world. We know he's 500 years before Messiah. So this book agrees with the LXX timeline. It does not agree with the Masoretic, which is so fascinating. And this is gonna be where we're gonna take our foundation to go to the next verses. Okay. So and please read this whole prophecy if you haven't. Just go back through it. We're not going to read it here. We just want to go over these few verses. Okay. And this is another part. So that other verse was changed in multiple different translations. Here's another part that's changed. I'm going to read from the Sefer, and then we can read from another version. From the other version right here. But from the Sefer it says in verse 9, "For you shall be taken away from all, and from henceforth you shall remain with my son, and with such as be like you, until the times be ended. For the world has lost its youth, and the times begin to wax old. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and half of a 10th part. And there remains that which is after the half of the 10th part. Okay, so
that's just like for someone like me. Like break that down.
Yeah, well, that's what we're gonna do, some math, because this is really wild. So I have read this before. And I'm like, okay, 10 parts, 12 parts. Like I was trying to figure this out. I couldn't figure it out. I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, I can't get to any date that would make sense.
Okay.
Like, I can't get to 5,500. I can't get to a millennial reign, possibly starting at 6,000.
Okay.
I couldn't get to any of this until I read a different version. Okay, and I read a different version, and this word 10 was actually changed. What I believe, and the only reason I believe this is that, before, in another version, it's 9. Yeah, you can read that.
For the age is divided into 12. So this is 2nd Esdras 14.
9, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm 11. I'm sorry.
11. Okay. For the age is divided into 12 parts, and 9 of its parts have already passed. 12 as well as half of the 10th part. So 2 of its parts remain besides half of the 10th part.
Yes. Yes. So you're like, oh, that doesn't clear up anything.
Not for me, but
but what's interesting is they changed 10 to 9. Okay. So why was that changed? Okay. So so I can go with what's in the Sefer 10.
Okay.
Where they left out the verse 48.
Okay.
But verse 48 is just confirming what is in 2nd Esdras 3:1, where we know what time he's writing this. Okay. The reason it was changed, okay, I don't know, but I have a theory that the reason it was changed is for the Masoretic timeline. The Masoretic timeline was changed to the Masoretic timeline, to this timeline we know, most people know today, to hide Messiah. It was to hide the confirmation of the covenant to Adam, which was 5.5 days. My Mashiach is going to come. The son of Elohim is going to come and bring you out of Sheol. Salvation, was going to come. They didn't want him to fulfill that promise. So what's interesting is, we'll get into it, but I think 9 is the proper translation. The number 9 right here.
Okay.
9 parts have passed.
Okay.
Besides half of a part of the 10th part. Now, after 9, we're dealing with the 10th part.
Okay.
Okay. Because 0 to 1 is the first part, right?
Okay.
I know it doesn't. Hopefully this makes sense. Okay. 0 to 1 is the first part. So you start with 0. So when you start with 9, you're dealing with the 10th part. So what this is saying is 9.5 parts have passed of the 12. Okay.
12 what? We were talking about
12 parts.
But like 12 part, like I know this is like a layman's question, but like we're talking about 12 parts of what? Like just the timeline of humanity?
12 parts to the timeline of the world. That's what it says.
Okay.
For the world has lost its youth, and the times begin to wax old.
Okay.
For the world is divided into 12 parts.
So the world, okay, so this isn't like 12 parts in a day. I mean, this is like 12 from creation to the end.
To the end.
Okay.
12
All right.
parts.
Just putting my
Okay.
stakes in the ground on my timeline.
Hopefully it's going to make sense. We're going to do this really quick. So
I'm here. I'm ready.
please pay attention. This is so cool. Not you. Yeah, you need to
I'm paying attention.
too. But
I've already heard
this
this twice and I'm still like, what?
Yes. Okay.
Cool.
12 parts. Okay. So let's divide it into 12 parts.
Okay.
9.5 of the parts have passed.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. So if 9.5 parts have passed, all right. So we got to find. So first we find out how much is the 12 parts. Okay. So we have to make an assumption here. This is what we do with most of the timelines. We have to make some assumptions.
Okay.
All right. So I'm admitting that. I'm admitting this is an assumption made because we don't have the full story. Okay. But let's just assume 12 parts for the world is a week. Okay.
A week for each part?
No.
No. Okay.
12 parts of the world is 1 full week. Okay. 1 full week for the world. Now, that would be a day unto Yahweh is 1,000 years. It's just like the 5.5 day prophecy for Adam is 5,500 years. Okay. That's why Adam was freaking out after 5.5 days out of the garden. He said, I thought you were going to save me. And he's like, no, it's 5,500 days. I mean, years. Okay. So we're going to go with 12 parts being 7,000 years. That's 7 days.
Okay.
7,000 years. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. 7,000 years total. That includes creation day, the first day, all the way to Shabbat.
Okay.
The last 1,000 years, the millennial reign, the end of the millennial reign. Okay. So we are going to find out, well, what is that? Okay. So you got to divide 7,000 with 12, and that equals 583 days. Okay, or years. I'm sorry, I keep getting that mixed up.
Okay.
But 583 years is one part. All right. Now, like I said, we're making an assumption here, but it's an educated guess. It's an educated assumption because there's numerous prophecies about the world, the whole world being 7,000 years old, like all of it being 7,000 years. What we're dealing with, the prophecy for the whole world. Okay. Okay. So 583 years for one part. Okay. So now we need to find out, where is Ezra in this part, because 9.5 have passed. All right. So
he's at that 9.5 mark where he's.
Yes and no. Okay. But I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. Okay. So 9.5 times 583 years. And we get 5,538 years. All right.
Okay.
So that's great, because that's a 5.5 day. Yeah, it's a 5.5 day marker.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, Yeshua's coming back right here. But it says 9.5 have passed.
Okay.
All right. But I think it's how it's worded here. Okay. So let's just go here, because we already confirmed with 2 verses that Ezra is writing this in the year 5,000.
Okay.
Since creation.
Okay.
So he's saying 9.5 have passed, which means he would be at 5,538 right now. But we know he's 500 years removed from Messiah. So there's an extra 500 years. But I think we have to read before, and it says in verse 9, for you shall be taken away from all, and from henceforth you shall remain with my son, and with such as be like you, until the times be ended. Now, when was the son revealed? 5,500. So I think it's kind of the way this is worded. I believe that he is saying, you should be taken. Okay, so you're going to be taken from all. It's my understanding that Ezra did not die. Okay, that he was just taken. I don't know if he was killed or died a natural cause, and we just don't know. But I think y'all took him up. Okay. And the son wasn't revealed yet. The son wasn't to be revealed for 500 years. But after that, he gets to be with the son. So I think that's what it's saying, that from here on, the year's 5,000. We already had 2 verses telling us Second Ezra was written in 5,000. Okay. So from here on, there's an extra 500 years. You're going to have to wait till you're with the son. Does that make sense? So why else would it say you're going to be with my son when the son's not to be revealed for 500 more years?
Okay.
So I think that's what it's saying. And that's why it divides it in verse 11. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and 9 parts of it are gone already. And a half of a 9th part, or half of the 10th part.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting. Why not say 9.5 parts are gone already, but it says 9 parts are gone already, and there's this half of the 10th part. You have the same thing in Daniel, where it deals with the 590 years and 583 years, that missing 7 years. Everyone's like, 7-year tribulation. You know, you have this extra 7 years pushed off in the distance, probably when the Jewish-Roman wars. But so, all right, yeah. So we have, so when we have 12 minus 9.5, that's 2.5. Okay, so we have 2.5 parts remaining. All right, so we already know one part's 583 years. So this would be what's remaining after Messiah, 5,538. Okay, so 583 years times 2.5, the 2.5 parts remaining is 1,457.5 years.
Okay.
All right, that's the end. All right.
That's how many years remain.
That's how many years remain. Yes.
Earth.
Of the earth after Mashiach. All right. So we know this included the 7,000 year timeline. This included the Sabbath rest of the world, which had been the millennial kingdom. So let's subtract the millennial reign, because the millennial reign would be 1,000 years, correct?
Sure.
That's why it's called the millennial reign, right? All right, so we subtract that, so 1475.5 minus 1,000, and we get 457 years. So this is what we add to the year 5,538. All right, this is the beginning of the millennial reign. That's what's telling you. And the millennial reign occurred at 5,999.5, which is the year 6,000. It's the beginning of the 7th millennium. Did I lose you? All right.
I'm sort of with you too right now. I'm with you.
It's the beginning of the 7th millennium. It's the year 6,000.
Yeah.
The year 6,000 is when we believe the millennial kingdom started. It's right here in 2nd Ezra 14.
So that means it started at what year? AD?
That would be 500-ish AD. 500 years after Messiah came, that's the year 6000 since creation. Okay. And so it's right here in 2nd Esdras 14.
Okay.
So I think this is incredible. The reason I'm going with 9 instead of 10 is because it equals the same time frame that's already been confirmed in 2nd Esdras and the verse they left out, saying that 2nd Esdras is writing this in year 5000.
Right.
All right. So hopefully that made sense. But what it's telling you right here is that the millennial kingdom was to begin, or the last part,
2.5.
Two parts, I guess. Two parts within 1,000 years. So the last 2 parts of the 12-part, duration of the world, that's the millennial kingdom. Those last 2 parts began at year 6000, which is year 580.
So then that puts the period of the millennial kingdom between 500 AD and it would end somewhere around
1500.
The 1500s, right? So do you want to explain, I guess, maybe where we're at today and then the short season, what that looks, short season?
That's what's incredible. Okay, so we have, just reading the Torah, we know 7 is just a significant number, okay?
Awesome.
There's 6 days of working, then there's that 7th Sabbath rest. And this is the same way the world operates. It has 6,000 years of working, and then that 7-year reign of the kingdom, the rest for the entire world, which we believe has already happened, which ended in the 1500s. And then you have the great 8th day. This is the day of Yahweh, possibly the day of Yahweh. I know a lot of people want to say that's the Sabbath. I don't know, but it seems to be confirmed in extra biblical text that the day of the Lord is, in fact, Sunday, the 8th day. I wouldn't say Sunday, but the 8th day. The 8th day. And so the great 8th day, we know a lot about 8 in Scripture. It's the day of circumcision. It's the day of renewal. It's the day of complete dedication. It's when we all get to come back. So right now we are in that timeline. If you've been in this millennial kingdom walk for, I'm going to say walk, but millennial kingdom belief for a while, and you've done any research, there's a lot of proof behind. Just in the 1700s, they knew we were in the year 7,000 something. They knew that it was over 7,000 years that we were removed from Adam. That's the known timeline, and they've erased that. The Masoretic, just a lot of, even what the Jews believe today, is the timeline. I think they're in year 5,700 and something.
Oh yeah, they are.
So it's totally different. They completely changed it. But yes, we are somewhere around 7,500 years removed from Adam. So we are 500 years outside of the millennial kingdom.
Yeah. So our year 2024 is the same thing as saying we're in the year 7,500-ish.
Yeah,
right?
7,500-ish. Yeah, we're like halfway through the great 8th day. And so what's interesting here is if we just add another part to this, okay? So we know a part's 583 years. Okay, so if we have millennial kingdom ending at 1500, we have a possible number for the short season, 583 years. All right? And so that means we still got 50 more years to go. But then we go with that verse in Matthew 24 where Yeshua is saying...
Matthew 24:22 says, "And if those days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved, but for the sake of the chosen ones, those days shall be shortened."
That's incredible because I read this verse and I see our time, because we live in a time that I think if this continues with all the things they're doing to our weather, to our air, to our water, to the food, to the soil, every single thing has been manipulated. The seed has been crossed. They have added seed to everything. It's been destroyed. It's literally the ways of Noah. Not the ways of Noah, the days of Noah. I do think this is our time.
Yeah.
I think the days are going to be shortened. And I don't think we're going to have to endure the whole 583 year period that Ezra's talking about. If that 583 years is a part, I don't think we're going to have to deal with that whole part. That's why it's called the short season. I think it's going to be shortened. I think it'll be shortened very soon.
Yeah.
I think we're coming up right on the end, and there would be the end of the Great 8th Day, halfway through the Great 8th Day, when Yah takes us back. By the way, that's the last day of Tabernacles, Feast of Sukkot. I think that's incredible.
I know.
Doesn't that make it
Makes so much sense?
It makes a lot of sense, yeah. And you have here it says they'll be shortened for the sake of the chosen ones. And I don't want to call anyone in Torah chosen, but I know if you've been in Torah and you've woken up to it, and you try to tell people around you like the truth of what's been shown to you, a lot of people cannot see it. They will not see it, and they cannot see it, and you feel a little chosen. You feel a little bit like, yeah, why in the world would you choose me to show this to me? And I don't know why, but I feel like we're being chosen and being selected for the end. The end.
Us and our children.
I'm sorry?
Us and our children.
Yeah, and the seed. Yeah, and that's what it says. A lot of the prophecies for the people being chosen out would be the seed as well.
Right.
So I think it's incredible. I think this 583 years is coming to an end. I think it's going to be shortened.
But I think it's also sort of like a buckle up situation too.
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah.
Because
I don't think it's going to be easy.
Yeah, just chosen also, it makes me think of, that verse in Deuteronomy. I think I shared it before about being a peculiar people, a treasured possession of Yahuwah. But Yeshua says, like, this narrow path, right, is hard pressed, it's afflicted. And, if you've been on this narrow path any length of time, it's been afflicting. It's been painful. It's not been easy in so many aspects of our lives. And so it's just to see what's happening right now and when it's continually happening, especially in this season. This season, this particular feast season, it feels like, so many, nothing new under the sun, but so many cyclical things are happening year over year in this particular season. And you just feel it. Like it just feel like the sense of the urgency, I feel like is so there, to get our houses in order, to get our hearts in order, and to prepare our hearts.
Well, we were just reading about Elijah in Kings, and
that's so
reading about, you're like, this is Elijah. I mean, he is such a well-known prophet.
Yeah.
And he's like
wanting to die.
Literally after, showing all the worshipers of Baal that, that Yahuwah is one. Yahuwah is our king. He is our Elohim.
Yeah.
And all of Israel turned and was like, yes, you're right. He literally asked to be killed. He's like, y'all just kill me. He's like,
it's enough.
I can't do it anymore. Yeah. And then Yah, right after that, instead of killing him, says, go and fast 40 days. I mean, up on the mountain, and he survives an earthquake and fire and wind and
water.
And water. He's literally, you read any of the prophets, if you were a man or woman that made it in the book of the Bible, every single book book that's named after someone, they lived horrific lives, most of them.
Yeah.
Even Solomon, probably most of his life was pretty awesome, but then, his end was horrible, I was like, most of these people lived horrible lives. The followers of Yeshua, died for their beliefs. The prophets were murdered. Isaiah was sawed in half. I mean, some horrible things.
And we would never compare ourselves to suffering for the sake of Messiah, or for the cause of Yahuwah, for anything.
Yeah, but if we're chosen, I mean, I think there's going to be more coming. Yeah, there's going to be more coming. And so, so this is the time we get to live in. Yay.
You were chosen. What is it? Was Ezra
you were born?
said?
Yeah, you were chosen for such a time as this. Yeah. But so I hope that was interesting. Do your math and check me out. I mean, I think it's pretty amazing. We can offer at least
check his math, not check him out.
Yeah, check our math. Yeah, but we can offer something in 2 Esdras 14 that actually shows possibly a timeline for the little season. And could this be like 40 years subtracted from it? Maybe that's the 40 is a significant number, especially, Yeshua to the destruction of the temple.
Well, they were in the wilderness.
40 years.
We're in the wilderness. Maybe we're going into it. Who knows?
Yeah, so maybe it's 40 years minus 583, or 583 years. Yeah. I don't know. That the timeline, comes close to our time right now, living in the short season, the little season. And where all flesh is going to die unless he comes and intervenes. It definitely seems that way. If they continue the way they're doing, I don't think flesh will be able to survive. You have people getting cancer so young now, and so much destruction around the world. Yeah. I don't think it's not a good world. It needs to be changed and reborn, and I think that's what we're expecting. So, I think it's a cool timeline. I really do. I think this is like, I don't know. I think this is amazing because this is one of the timelines you can go and you can figure out and show, wow. It follows the LXX. It follows the 5.5 day prophecy. It follows the seventh day prophecy, the seventh millennium, which is year 6,000. So, or year 580. So, anyways, hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.